Okay, there we go. Oh, wonderful. Trying to set up a multi YouTube. Sure, how to both up at the same time. I think it would be easier to hit the go live button. Perhaps I should forget the Twitch thing for now and just get into some game, answer some questions. Still into chat, why not? How are you folks all doing today? You all can hear me all right, can't you? Looks like it's doing all right on my OBS here. Onward. So much to figure out here. Gonna have to change. There we go. That should be better. Do I play Arena because it's easier? I mostly play Arena because it's an online client that's a lot easier than using Magic Online. Magic Online tends to be kind of clunky if you ask me. And empty a lot easier to play. Although getting decks easier is also nice. But especially with loaning companies, that's not as big of an issue on Magic Online. I just think Arena is pretty easy. Your opinions on Disney Lorcana? I like Lorcana. I think Lorcana's not bad. It's not exactly my cup of tea because similarly they don't have an online client, so it can be kind of tough. Not having an online client just means your options for play are both a lot more limited. Yeah, it's a lot more limiting to play Lorcana only in person. Not to mention that it's tough when people. You have to get the cards in person, and if you don't have people to play with regularly, you can't really get testing done, and it's you gotta go to in-person tournaments and stuff. There's a lot more things that make Lorcana more difficult. Also, it kind of feels like a great game to just have an online client, At least from what I've seen from the game, I don't really see a reason why they couldn't put work into making one, besides the fact that, they're still testing it and seeing if it's a market that's worth exploring. It's really tough. After it. Oh, I think I know exactly what video you were talking about here. We're bad. I watched the YouTube video recently talking about the predatory aspects and how predatory card games have to be. I thought it was a really good video. I do think in terms of predatoriness, like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic sit on top of the pile. It used to be back in the day, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was like always, in my opinion, very predatory in terms of its practices, rarities, the ability to get cards. Like it all felt very predatory to me, basically since Yu-Gi-Oh's inception. Magic has recently joined that club though, like being more and more predatory in terms of sales and things going through like that. It's tough with, I don't know, it's if you play a lot of Magic, you see how basically Hasbro has had a lot of issues effectively marketing things, especially with like, because Wizards. Oh, hey Simo, big fan. Nice. We'll see you in my chat here. Wizards tries a lot of stuff to make money, basically, because the rest of Hasbro is effectively failing. So they need some way to get an investment out of their most profitable branch, which makes sense and is fine. It just sucks because it makes Magic worse as a game. A lot of other card games aren't saddled with that. Pokemon's a great example. Like Pokemon, you can see kind of the same thing happening with the games because that is their main branch. The Pokemon games have generally been steadily decreasing in terms of how good they are over time. What the fuck is this? Blank, okay. Yeah, in terms of like the what's it called? The actual Wizards like making cards, it's been getting worse, and the Pokemon games have been getting worse because they need to rely on them to make money more than they need to rely on their other aspects. Cost of ruining the core experience of Magic. Yeah. yeah. I feel that. The core experience of Magic is definitely getting. I mean, here's the thing about Magic. The game, like a lot of the big card games, is so resilient. I don't think it's really gonna go anywhere. Personally, I feel like there's a lot of promise, even if they fuck it up a lot, which they have been. Well, I think it'll be okay, but Pokemon's fucking gigantic. And that's for the best, I think. I think having a big, powerful game, and thinking of a Pokemon card game really makes me happy for where it's going to end up, because they just have so much freedom to basically do whatever they want with the game. That is... It gives them so much freedom for what they want to do with the game. It makes it really easy for them to, make a balanced, fun experience that's both friendly for new players and also good for everyone else. Definitely. Or gameplay of... Yeah, I see there's a lot of other TCGs. It's pretty clear that people have seen what's happening with Magic and Pokemon and other, like... I saw this term in a video. It was called, like, the inshitting. Basically where, over time, as market players become more dominant, the things they make naturally get shittier. Is that really when Yu-Gi-Oh? Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. It's really interesting, Simo, to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! In the Big Three discussion, I think. It's part of the reason I made the channel in the first place, because it feels to me a lot like Yu-Gi-Oh! Always has been the odd one out in terms of both shitification, yeah. It's always been the odd one out in terms of both the way they make their game, but also the way that they sell things. Like, in my mind, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has always been the most expensive, despite Magic's increasing prices and how expensive Pokemon cards can get up to. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has both always been the most expensive and the most different than the other card games. And I think they play to that a lot in terms of how Yu-Gi-Oh! Can, like, market to people and also, like, make products that are specifically focused on, like, this very hardcore base, which a lot of other card games are scared to inhabit with. What do I put back? I don't know. Yeah, so basically, enshittification, to my understanding, is that once you have a big market player like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon, and you just kind of dominate the market all by yourself, you don't really need to do anything else. So you can just make your game shittier and shittier over time, like lower the amount of free stuff you give out, make the game, you know, harder to play for new players, squeeze your veteran players harder and harder. And that's why I think as all these other companies are seeing this, they're saying like, oh, now's a great time to release a TCG. Marvel Snap came out recently, relatively. I mean, the One Piece, TCG, Lorcana, all these games are like seeing this market hole and going like, let's get in there, you know? And I think that's for the best. I like seeing other card games. I like seeing new things. I've always been a big card game and board game player, so anytime something new comes out, I'm willing to try it and give it a look. Card games are a little bit harder because they have a lot more investment. You can't really just, you know, boot up a card game and just like play it for 20 minutes and then get a full understanding of how the game works. You have to put a bit more into it. I was thinking about making videos about other card games, though. I'd have to learn more about them to see what really makes them tick, but I think it'd be good. I'm running 2 streams. Oh, is that what was happening here? Strange. I didn't even know you could run 2 streams at the same time. Well, I know I can like multi-stream. Like, I tried to get the stream set up on Twitch and YouTube, but I don't really... Clearly, I fucked it up somewhere because I'm streaming on Twitch or on the YouTube twice rather than Twitch and YouTube at the same time. Still pretty new to this whole thing. Note of how much money these companies were making during COVID. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a reason too. Of course, they want to make money. And it's definitely a good time to do it right now. I don't know. I also feel like... Yeah, YouTube is the one. Yeah, they did all start development. They probably saw the big numbers coming out and figured it was a good time to do it. You're right, Simo. That makes a lot of sense. But I also think, like, because they made a lot of money hand over fist during COVID, I feel like everything was kind of making a lot of money hand over fist during COVID that was, like, you know, not affected by it. Like, I remember back when MTG Arena was first being developed, like 2016-ish, it was kind of supposed to replace, you know, it was supposed to replace Magic Online. That was kind of the goal of the thing. But then, as COVID happened, the focus on online had to be the major thing because you couldn't play in person anymore, right? Which led to basically all of the focus being on Magic Arena and it making a fuck ton of money compared to all the, you know, paper products that you could... TCGs did get flooded especially, but I think TCGs were like in a good spot to be flooded, you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot easier to flood the TCG market during a time where you don't have many other options for what kind of entertainment to play. Like, you have to play... It's basically video games. You can't play, like, in-person board games. There's no in-person anything, which is, like, half of the shit. You know? It doesn't really leave you anything. Yeah. Everything ballooned. This is also the reason, like, back when TCGs were first becoming a big thing, I still remember back in the day, there were so many card games I played as a kid that just, like, don't exist anymore. Simply because of the fact that they, like, all came out at the same time and ate each other's market share. I put a lot of my videos like chaotic and stuff, where I think like it's good to have the market competition, and I like seeing all the new card games and getting to try things as a player. But as a company, it looks like it's scary, you know. A lot of them will come out and a lot of them will die off for whatever reason, and it's hard to invest. That's why the big three remained the big three forever, because it's just so hard to take a bite out of that market share without them substantially fucking something up, which I think that the games have done, but not to such an extent where it's gonna doom the game or anything, right? I don't like the way this game is going. I think TCG copies. I'm assuming you mean niche nerf culture. Do I think card games are gonna be mainstream? Maybe. Like, I don't know. I feel like card games are kind of too... The barrier of entry is too high for them to ever become mainstream. Almost all of the mainstream things that I see are like, your barrier to entry has to be like literally nothing. And having almost any price tag... I mean, you can just see it with all the largest like video games, how they all pivot to free-to-play. It's a lot easier just to do something that's got no barrier to entry as a new player and get a large audience that way than it is to, you know, have to both invest money and then learn an entire game. Like, you already have to learn the whole game. Now you also have to buy the game before you even know what you're doing, right? I think I'm just here. I'm pretty sure. Minecraft isn't. That's true. But Minecraft is like... I don't know. I feel like Minecraft had a kind of miracle moment when Minecraft first started. Like, Minecraft... When did Minecraft come out now? 2000 and fucking 11, I want to say? Minecraft came out like dawn of YouTube kind of thing. Magic has way better potential to get close. Yeah, I don't know. Magic is expensive, but like... I think Hearthstone is the only game... Yes, I completely agree with this take, Sumo. I think Hearthstone was doing a really, really good job with Broad at the helm, and then he left because he saw the direction that things were going, you know what I mean? Like, he kind of could tell, like, oh, I'm getting less and less creative control. They're wanting more and more stuff. Or maybe he just got bored. I don't know. I don't know personally, so I can't say either way. But it's clear that he pivoted from that and then wanted to do something new on his own, and he made Marvel Snap, which is... I liked Marvel Snap. It was a good game, but you can kind of feel the mobile gaminess kind of baked into it. Makes it a little more hard to stomach. Problem with Yu-Gi-Oh! Is this community, though. There are definitely, what I remember from back in the day when I played card games at the LGS, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community was definitely the most unpleasant to say. But I think it's mellowed out nowadays a little bit more, whereas the games that were considered really nice, like Pokemon and Magic, have gained their fair share of detractors. What the fuck is this? Abyssal Harvester. I've literally never seen this card before. This is the Magic moment. I've been playing Magic for fucking multiple decades, and I have not... Okay. Sure. Why not? Tried watching Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship. I thought I was watching Solitaire. Yeah. Yu-Gi-Oh! Definitely looks kind of solitary from time to time. But that's the thing about Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, just because it's solitary E doesn't mean there's not decisions to make. You just make all the decisions in one turn. Like, there's still points. Just because it all happens super quickly doesn't mean the decisions aren't there or aren't meaningful, you know? It does put a bit of a sour taste in your mouth, though, if you come from before, like previous times. Ah, I see. Oh, okay. This guy's kind of cooking me. Pokemon definitely has the easiest learning curve of all of the card games. The learning curve for Pokemon is super duper friendly and easy, which I think is a really good thing. But Yu-Gi-Oh, it's weird. Yu-Gi-Oh has all of these like online versions that like teach you the game and show you the basics and bring you through all the eras of Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff from like the old to the new. And those are great things to have, but the problem is they're so divorced from what Yu-Gi-Oh actually is. Yeah, Magic feels overwhelming for me. I really want to get into it. Yeah, Magic can definitely be overwhelming. I think Magic is pretty new player friendly. I would like to say it's a little. There are complex parts of it. I think once you Magic is helped a lot by having standard and limited formats where you can kind of just like get your bearings, and after playing like I think a few rounds of them, you'll sort of understand what you want to do all the time, and then you can kind of learn the depth. Yu-Gi-Oh is actually quite simple when you remember. Well, Yu-Gi-Oh is less about remembering what your cards do and more about remembering what your opponent's cards do, which is the tough part. More, yeah, remembering what your opponent's cards does is the hard part, and why Yu-Gi-Oh. Also, because Yu-Gi-Oh only has the one standard format, it becomes really hard to kind of make any progress. Like in Magic, you will understand yourself making progress and feeling like, oh, I understand what to use removal spells here. I understand what to do this. I understand what to do that. You'll get a better kind of grasp on what you can do to control the aspects of the game. Whereas I feel like with probably Flame Boom String here. I feel like with the understanding that like Magic and Pokemon, they give you a pretty Pokemon is the easiest because it gives you a very clear goal for what you want to do and you don't have to worry so much about your opponent. Magic will give you that kind of understanding for what you want to do to your opponent, and then Yu-Gi-Oh is kind of the final step where you need to know what your opponent is doing to properly like understand, okay, I played well there, I played poorly there, you know. This is what I'm doing right, this is what I'm doing wrong. That's like the crucial part for most games, if you ask me, is when you can understand if you've made a mistake. Because if you can understand why you made a mistake or where you made a mistake, it becomes a lot easier for people that like you know what's going on basically. In pre-2005, it feels so much. Yeah, that's one thing that's definitely true about Yu-Gi-Oh is that the game is so different now, completely. And I mean that's just like that happens to every card game after enough time, especially when your only format is an internal format. Like if you had no option really for rotation, it's hard to keep balance under control, especially with shifting philosophies, new designers, all that kind of stuff. It makes it like way harder to keep a consistent banning and design philosophy going through the years. And here we go, finally I'm winning a game. Yeah. It's sad to me what happened to Hearthstone. I still like Hearthstone. Hearthstone's still a good game, but like it also feels very shifted in design, and I wish they would do, because it's a rotating format, I feel like they could shift back, but after all of the disaster sets like Rosticon's Rumble, they're afraid to shift back in the other direction. What the fuck do you have here? Thanks for tuning in, everyone, though. I was wondering how many people I'd get tuning into my stream today. Just kind of randomly decided I wanted to do a stream after making a few videos. I've been thinking about which new topics I want to cover and stuff. Still lots of things I got for ideas. If you have any ideas in the chat. Holy fuck. Desecration Demon. This is a fucking card. That is a face I have not seen in a long time. Hearthstone feels like a mid-range troop. There's barely any different. Yeah, that's kind of the problem. I felt like when I played Hearthstone, the biggest difference in terms of gameplay for me was just if I had the stupid combo like that cleared my opponent's board and gave me a board, and if I didn't, I lose, and if I did, I win. Besides that, basically every turn was just cobbling together whatever you had in hand to make something work. Mhm. Yeah. I still feel like the core experience of Hearthstone is fun. The cards, the game just feels good to play. But I mean, I think that new card added in the Great Dark Beyond, the Ceaseless Expanse or whatever it's called. I mean, that card just kind of highlights. I have a Discord. No, I've been planning on setting one up. I tried setting up my Patreon and my Twitter accounts. I want to set up a Discord account too, or a Discord server when possible, because I think it'd be cool to have discussions in there and log in for that kind of thing. Perhaps this month I'll get that set up. Was pretty busy for me last few months. December and January always got a lot of stuff going on. Kind of got a rig. They kind of got rid of control because long aggro because it felt too bad to lose mid-range outpost. Is it possible to play CEDH on a budget? Okay, like what do you mean by play? Because there are definitely budget CEDH decks. Like you don't have to play blue. It's not mandatory. I've seen tons of Goto decks do plenty well in CEDH. And it's also, you know, it's like a word for it. It's like a multiplayer format, so you can always kind of balance against that. I'll play. Started that way too long. Yeah, Hearthstone did have that problem where the game was way too long, but I feel like Hearthstone was just kind of designed to have long games, and people just don't like that as much anymore. That's why Bro switched over to Marvel Snap, right? People got tired of playing. Even mono decks are expensive. Yeah, it also depends on like how hard you want to go, right? Do you want your deck to be like the tip of the top of the line, like perfect, everything optimal? Or do you want to just like play stuff that's, you know, close to optimal but not perfect? But you're right, most of the core cards for most decks are pretty pricey. Like even in the monocolor decks, you'll have a bunch of colorless things that you need to have. Can I play CDH with... Yeah, that's totally reasonable. You could do that. You want a monocolor deck for sure with a smallest tight budget. Here's the thing about CEDH, like it's really competitive and you should have a high power deck, but even like not having a super high power deck, you can still make it work. Peak popularity was 4 years after launch. It wasn't the launch hype. Good design. Definitely, yeah. I completely agree. The design was good. And by having a well-designed game that was balanced, it helped to make it so that way, you know, more people would want to come in and play the game. I don't think it's that complicated for how to like make a successful card game. Like it's hard. It's like incredibly hard, but the path is relatively easy, which is why so many people take cracks at it. You just have to design a game that is good and a lot of people want to play, which is way simpler than it sounds. Would you rank Pokemon number 1 in expensive to collect, followed by Magic, then Yu-Gi-Oh? Yeah, what do you mean by collecting? Do you mean like hardcore collecting, like collecting every single card? Or do you mean like not as hardcore collecting, just like collecting like some of the cards to have. Like, you want to have some expensive cards, but not, like, literally everything. Because if you mean, like, tippy top end, Magic is #1, I think, because of the reserve list and how many cards are stuck on there. But if you mean, like, for individual cards, I don't know. Yeah, that too, if you count the new stuff they print as well. It's the most expensive for Magic. Collecting some cheap cards to have. Oh, if you want to collect cheap cards, Pokemon is definitely the best. Like, if you... Pokemon has the cheapest decks for sure. And I don't think it's close. Oh my... Okay, I'm gonna have to draw some. Yeah, if you just want to collect, like, playable cards or a deck or just things that you think are nice, Pokemon is definitely the game for it. But you can collect, like, if you just like certain cards, you can do it at any card game. If you want to get cards that are good, I think Pokemon is the best, and then it's probably Magic because of its diversity of formats, and then Yu-Gi-Oh! If you want to hardcore collect, I'm not really in that scene, so I don't know how it is, and it fluctuates a lot too, so that's up to you. I'm trying to collect every Universe Beyond card. I don't envy you. I would definitely not recommend doing that, but if you want to, be my guest. I need to draw an answer here. Or I'm dead. Oh. Cool deck for my opponent. My homies hate Shieldred. Fuck Shieldred. I hate Shieldred. It's really fucked up that Shieldred is too slow now. As just like a 4-mana card that doesn't do anything when it comes to play. Like, the card is actually not that good. Because it does have games like that where, like, you play down the Shieldred, and then if you don't answer it, you just lose. If you do answer it, the card's completely useless and is mana. But if you don't answer it, you lose it. I did have an idea where I could build a commander deck with every Universe Beyond card in it, but there's way too many at this point. You could easily do that, I'm pretty sure. If you wanted to. I mean, they have decks that are just completely Universe Beyond cards, right? So, what are my thoughts on Pokemon Pocket? Okay, my thoughts have changed about Pokemon Pocket over time. So I thought originally it was just